This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast with R.J. Womack.
Hey everybody, this is Brother Nero. It's been a long time since we've done this. In fact, it's been over a year since we've done a podcast. And I'll tell you a little bit about why I've been delayed doing this podcast in the next episode. But right now, I really want to talk to you about the guest that I have on today. I have on the artist, the author, and blogger, Marie Ravensoul. She just came out with a new book called At Satan's Altar, and I'm going to talk to her about that and many other things today on this podcast. This is episode 1 of season 2 of the Dark Illumination Report podcast, and here's your interview with Marie Ravensoul. Hi everybody, I'm here with Marie Ravensoul, the author of At Satan's Altar. Hi Marie.
Hi Brother Nero, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on the show. For you guys that don't know, it's been a while in coming. We've been planning to do this interview for a while. It's been really difficult to get Marie to come on the show because she's not really an interview type. She really doesn't like interviews that much. But I finally got her on here. I've been trying to convince her to come on the show for about, 2 years now? Off and on?
About that, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we should get started by just telling people a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in Satanism.
Well, when I was younger, I always felt like I was being watched. I always felt, there was an energy watching me, a presence, whenever, I was alone. At the time, I had no idea what it was. I just knew this was an intense presence, dark. Sometimes I was scared, but it was also exciting at the same time. And then when I was in grade 6, a teacher took us to a cemetery to teach us about art and stuff on the gravestones and mausoleums. And when we walked into the last one, there was with red spray paint, there was the name Satan on one of the tombstones. So everyone else was freaking out about this, but I felt drawn to it. And I didn't really know who Satan was, but I felt drawn to this name and this tombstone. And then later on, years later, someone told me that was his way of showing me that he was with me. So I would have been about 11 then. And then when I was 13, I began to feel drawn to satanic symbols that I would see on album covers, books. Satanic graffiti would stand out to me. And then I started writing a short story about a satanic coven. I didn't even know what a coven was. I just wanted to write about Satan.
So did the word coven just come to you, or did you find it in a dictionary, or what happened? How did that happen?
I don't remember, but it was, I guess I maybe called it a group in the book, but it was a group of people that worship Satan.
Right. And so that you were talking about the fear and the presence and all that. I've known many Satanists throughout my life that have been were called by Satan since they were children. And they all describe similar experiences. The people that get called when they're younger all describe kind of being afraid at first and kind of sensing this presence, watching them and being around them. And eventually what happens is they have an experience with this presence, and it tells them to not fear it. And it becomes like a mentor. And that's kind of how it starts. And that was the way it was with me. I mean, when I first felt Satan's presence, it scared the shit out of me. Honestly, it did. It scared me really bad. But then as time went on, I got the sense that I was being told, don't be afraid of me. Just accept me, trust me, and it'll be okay. And that's what happened with me. And I've been a Satanist ever since. So I totally understand that. And as you know, I've got friends that I've told you about that were also called as children that had the same experience. So it's very common for people to have that experience.
Yeah, but it's frightening at first, but then it becomes comforting.
Yes, because I don't know if it happened with you, but with me, it was literally, I felt the presence letting me know not to fear it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt that. I mean, if it's like, it's almost like when I say it told me not to fear it, it's not that I literally heard a voice saying not to fear it. It's just a psychic sense of it communicating through communication, through mental communication, and that kind of thing. So that's one of the things that I always try to tell people. When you first experience something spiritual like that, you're going to be afraid. And in fact, if you're going to be serious about Satanism or the occult, you have to be willing to work through your fears, because you're going to have experiences that are going to scare the crap out of you. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and at 5, 6, 7 years old, you're not going to know what it is. You're just going to feel that presence in the room.
Yeah. And I know that my friend that you know about in England, she experienced it when she was like 7. I was fortunate enough that when I first experienced it, I was 12. So I was a little bit older. But being 12 in the 80s is not like being 12 today. I mean, kids that are 12 today are like 25, Whereas when we were growing up, 12, you were still a kid. You were still watching cartoons. You were still doing kid stuff. Whereas now they're going on dates at 13,
Oh, I know.
So it's completely different today. So what actually happened that convinced you that Satan existed?
Well, because of all, I started having more manifestations, and I was drawn to these symbols, and I figured, I want to figure out what these symbols meant. So through things like books, music, people I know, and, I found out that it meant Satan. So I started talking to him, and I started getting response. And, I felt him drawing me to himself. Like there was no other way that, I would have been drawn to that. Like no one else around me was drawn to it. It was just me.
Yeah.
Like it became such a strong passion. Like it became everything to me. Like I had to read the books. I had to listen to them. Any kind of music that had, Satan in it. It doesn't matter. I had to listen to that. I became obsessed with it.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because with me, it was the same thing. I didn't, I see all these people on the internet, and they have all these groups and stuff, and they have all these people around them telling them what to believe or what to think. And then they follow along like sheep, and they follow along with whatever group they're into or whatever person they think is a guru, right? And they'll follow them like sheep. Well, with me, I didn't have anybody else in Satanism. Everything I learned on my own. I didn't have a mentor. We didn't even, I don't know if it was like that with you, but, I didn't have anybody to model my Satanism after. I didn't have anybody that knew more than me. I didn't have anybody to even do rituals with. Everything I did and everything I learned on my own or through my personal spiritual experiences, not through some guy telling me what to believe or what I should be like they do now.
No, we had to go to Satan. We had to pray. We had to, go to our room and talk to him, or go for a walk and in nature. And we would, hear his voice, or he would, he used to speak to me through music, things like that. But yeah, there was no internet. There was no groups. I used to write to a guy in Finland, I guess starting when I was around 16. And, we shared some stuff back and forth through snail mail. So that was a support system I had. And I met some, Satanists that were in real life, but we all believed different. Yeah. So that was hard as well.
See, that's the thing I think that bothers me now about the Satanism today, is that people are so quick to follow people. And, you see it with the people that want to, do their beard like LaVey, and they shave their head and they copy everything LaVey does, or whoever it is that they believe is like the messenger, right, of Satan, or messenger of Satanism, should we say. And it wasn't like that for us.
Yeah.
The only person we had was Satan and ourselves. That's it. And so, when everybody says, oh, Satanism is about independence, it's about freedom, it's about individuality. Well, none of you guys are very individual. You all copy each other. You all follow like lemmings, Oh, we can't, we don't really believe in Satan. He's just an archetype. Well, where did you hear that? You heard that by LaVeyans preaching it to you 10,000 times. So you just regurgitate it like a robot. That's what I hate about Satanism today. It's the antithesis of everything Satanism stands for. Everybody just follows along like a bunch of fucking Christians, but yet they act like they're better than Christians. You know, I don't get it. Never have.
Yeah, and instead of going to Satan, whether it's through, prayer or meditation or, even through tarot cards, which I used to use the Ouija board a lot, anything to, just to go to him, they'd rather go to a Facebook group and ask a bunch of people.
Yeah, you're right.
And then they believe what they say, even if it's against what,
Yep.
they know Satan would say.
And, that brings me to talking a little bit about your book. Why did you decide to write a prayer book as opposed to just a more general Satanism book?
Well, I believe that it was needed. There wasn't really anything out there for religious Satanists. I was always asked questions, like on my website or in the groups, how to contact Satan, how to pray to him. So I've been writing prayers for quite a long time and putting them on my website in Satan's honor. So people have always said that it's helped them. So I wanted to put that into print. I was actually asked to put them into print. So I wrote a lot more to put in the book. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of good feedback from it.
Yeah, you know me. We've known each other for a long time. I don't even know how many years it's been. You remember, but I don't. So how long has it been we've known each other?
About 11 years now.
11 years. See, I don't remember. But the point is, me. I've always been against pre-written prayers. I really don't think that's a good habit to get into. Letting other people speak for you. I think it should come from your heart. But since your book has come out, I've had a lot of people say to me, I don't know what to say. I don't have the words. I can't come up with anything that I feel is respectful enough to use. So I recommend your book. And the first thing they say to me is, oh, this is great. I'm glad I got this, or I'm glad I ordered this. And they thank me for referring them to your book. And so I'm starting to change my mind. I think the book is needed, and it is a very good book. And for anybody who's thinking about buying it, I would say you definitely need to check it out, because not only do you have prayers and hymns, but she's got dedication rituals. She's got all kinds of things. I mean, she's got holiday rituals in there. She's got advice about offerings. I mean, it's more than a prayer book. I mean, to say it's a prayer book is probably an understatement. That's not really an accurate description of what it actually is. It's a full-on devotional book of practice. And it really is an excellent book. And I don't recommend many books that often because, to be honest, I think a lot of books written in Satanism today are a bunch of crap, written by people who don't believe in Satan, who are just out to make money. And so for me to recommend a book, it has to really say something. And I think your book does that.
I wanted to honor Satan. I wanted to do it for him. I also want to make a statement, to the world that Satan is loved and worshipped by many people. You've got the LaVeyan saying, oh, Satan doesn't exist. Satanists don't believe in Satan. Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
Through the book, I'm hoping to show, whoever comes across it, that that's not true.
Yeah. I mean, there have always been people that have believed in Satan. There's always been people that have worshipped Satan as an entity. And, contrary to what the Church of Satan tries to teach, they didn't create the term Satanism. The term Satanism has been used in books, dating back years and years. In fact, I forget what it was. Was it, there's a book called Spirituality and Dogma from the 1920s. Where the word Satanism is used throughout. I mean, and LaVey wasn't even born until 1930. So, how could he have invented a term that was being used before he was born? It doesn't make any sense. And the Church of Satan will lie to people, knowing that they don't know any different, knowing that they're not educated enough about the history of Satanism to fight back or to argue with them. And they also know that most people aren't going to go through the trouble of looking up old books in Google Books, to find that information.
Yeah.
And you and I both know people that's what they do. They're obsessed with it. They look through old manuscripts and spend hours doing it. And one of the biggest pleasures they have in life is coming up to you and saying, look at what I found. We both know a person like that, you know?
Yeah.
So even if I'm not the biggest researcher in the world, I've known people who are, and that's what they do. And that's the way they feel. They serve Satan, is by looking up that information to combat people like the Church of Satan, who tell people stuff that's not true, you know?
Yeah.
But the Church of Satan knows that's not the average person. And as I say to people all the time, if a member of the Church of Satan, if their mouth is moving, they're lying. Okay? And I know that's going to make me a lot of friends out there. But hey, this show's about keeping it real. And the Church of Satan has been lying to people for years. And every time they speak, every word that comes out of their mouth is a lie. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
You know, I know that's not going to make me popular, but hey, the truth is the truth.
Yeah, you have to speak what you believe is right, and what you know is right.
So the next thing I want to ask you about, and this is something that we've talked a lot about, is how do you feel about these people who call on angels and demons as part of their satanic practice?
Well, as you know, I think it's ridiculous. I think if you're a dedicated Satanist, that you have dedicated your life to Satan, you have no business, going to angels. What's the purpose of it? That's, the agents of Jehovah. Like if we need advice or guidance or protection, we go to Satan. That's all we need. Or if we want to go to one of his demons, why do we need angels for? It's disrespectful, it's disloyal, but it seems to be, a common thing that's coming up now with some people, and that they're promoting it.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this the other day. That's one of the reasons why I brought it up, because I get this question. I'm telling you, I get this question about 3 or 4 times a month in my email. I get this question about, is it okay to work with the angels and demons and be a Satanist? And the answer is no. Real Satanists who love and respect Satan would not even think about trying to invoke or evoke angels. They wouldn't even think about it, much less attempt it. And the other thing I would say is that the few times that I've experienced what I believe to be angels, I'll say it like that, they've been negative experiences, and they brought harm to the people around me. And so I would never do it on purpose. I've never done it on purpose. Sometimes there are spirits that just show up. And when they do show up, they tend to be very bad news. And they're very difficult to vanish. Very, very difficult to vanish. And that's why I tell people, you really shouldn't mess with things you don't understand. And one of the things that bothers me about the stuff that's being taught today in Satanism is, if you tell somebody, oh, don't worry about it, angels don't exist, and then somebody's confronted with something like an angel or some spirit they're not expecting to deal with, they're not prepared for it. They're not prepared to deal with it because they're like, wait a minute, this doesn't match up with what this guy said over here, or this guy in the Facebook group said over here. I've got this spirit I'm dealing with that people say doesn't exist. And then they're not prepared to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because they've been told something that's not true. And that's another thing. The one piece of advice I would give to anybody is, when you're doing ceremonial magic, when you're practicing occultism, you really need to always keep an open mind. Even if you don't believe something is real, always keep a little bit of space in your mind for the possibility, because at least that way, if something unexpected shows up that you weren't thinking was real, at least you won't be caught off guard, and you could at least prepare for it mentally. Because I don't know about, what do you think about that? I mean, what do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's important to question everything too. Like, this one person in a group said that she was told by a demon, I think it was either King Payman or Belial. And she said that they told her that it was okay to go to Michael for protection. Like, the first thing I would have done was question, why would a demon be telling me to go to an angel for protection? Like why couldn't, if I needed protection from something, why couldn't they protect me? Why wouldn't they have said, go to Satan? Like lead me to Satan, who's more powerful than these angels anyway. Why tell me to go to Michael, who's the enemy of Satan?
Yeah.
Like, why not question? Like, my first thing would have been, okay, well, is it really a demon that I'm talking to? Like, am I being, perhaps I might be being deceived by the spirit that's saying to go to Michael?
Yeah.
Like,
I know. And I'll tell you something else. I don't know if I've told you the story and I don't really want to tell it on the podcast because I still don't even like to talk about it really. But you remember me telling you about, I had an experience with a spirit that I didn't believe in personally, that I personally didn't believe existed, and that I had a really bad experience. Do you remember me telling you about this?
I'm not sure.
There's this particular entity that people believe in that I never believed in at all. And someone that worked for me went to the occult shop to pick up stuff for me. And when they came back,
Okay.
she said to me, they put this sigil of this spirit in the bag, and they said, the man that you work for is a very bad man, talking about me being a Satanist.
Yeah.
And before that person ever got home, I felt that presence in the house. So I didn't know she was coming home with the sigil. I didn't even believe in this particular entity. I just thought, whatever.
Yeah.
Whether I believed in it wanted to show me that it existed. So just because you've been told something doesn't exist, and just because you might believe based on your own personal experience that a spirit doesn't exist, sometimes the spirit will make sure you know that it exists, whether you believe in it or not. And it will come and mess with you. And if you're not prepared for that possibility, it can really mess you up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And cause confusion, cause fear, doubt, guilt.
So I always say to people, it's okay to have a certain cosmology. It's okay to have a certain belief system, but always keep an open mind enough that you're open to the possibility that there are things out there that maybe you don't believe in that do exist. I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's terrible when people say, the Christian God's a bunch of nonsense. They're angels. It's a bunch of nonsense. They don't exist. Because I think what happens to a lot of people is they encounter spirits that are loyal to that God, to that deity. And then when they do, they're like all messed up because they've been told by Levians and all these other people, those things don't exist. It's just made up. It's just Christian mythology. Or they'll say it wasn't really the spirits, it was archetypes, or it was servitors or something. And that's what they'll tell people. But I guarantee you, I've had some experience that I don't think it's a thought form. I don't think it was a servitor. I think it was something seriously, it had serious desire to let me know it existed.
Yeah.
And that's why I also say some of these people, when I see them post messages and write their books and stuff, sometimes I really don't think they practice. I think they just write the stuff just to write the stuff, and they just say stuff because they want to sell books, or they want to be popular, or they want attention, or whatever it is they want.
Or if they're practicing, they don't know exactly who it is they're talking to. Like they might think it's, Satan and the demons, but it's not. And they're being deceived into, obviously it could be this agenda, that talk to angels. They want, the spirit world wants Satanists to talk to, to angels, to lead them away from Satan and the demons. Like today I heard someone saying, Satanists shouldn't be against God. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Again, it's like when I guess he's meaning Jehovah, but I've always told people don't call something God unless he's earned the title. Like to me, Jehovah isn't God. He hasn't earned that title to me. Like by calling someone God, you're saying, so, be careful who you actually call God. Like Satan to me is my God.
No, that's the same thing. I mean, even if I listen to something like, say I listen to a secular song and it says something like, oh, thank you, God, and I'm not talking about Christian music. I'm talking about like a secular song. and it says something like, "Thank you, God.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm thank God I made it," or something like that. I
Mhm.
don't think of the Christian God. I think of Satan when I hear something like that.
Yeah.
Or if I'm watching a TV show and they say, "Oh, God help me out," or whatever, I don't automatically think of the Christian God. In fact, I don't think about the Christian God hardly at all. The only time I really think about the Christian God, it's funny, most of the time is when I'm doing podcasts like this, because I get questions from people about, I was a Christian. How do I deal
Yeah.
with, the spirits and the stuff that's pulling me back to Christianity or whatever. And that's when I talk about it. But in my day to day life, I try not to give the Christian God any attention whatsoever. And in fact, I even
No,
go a
I
step
know.
further. A lot of Satanists will go out of their way to blaspheme the Christian God, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But the thing about the Christian God is he wants attention. He's a megalomaniac, right? And if you blaspheme him, you're giving him attention. If you just live your life, don't think about him, don't think about the religion that's associated with him, ignore it completely and live your life by satanic principles, that annoys him more than anything else. If you blaspheme him, you're still giving him attention. You're still making him more important than he actually is.
Yeah, blaspheming could be good, like say to try to get rid of Christian programming for someone that might be stuck or that keeps going back. But to keep doing it, you're focusing on that entity, whereas it's better to focus on Satan. So if you're struggling, if you're having a spiritual struggle, go and pray to Satan, do a ritual, like focus on Satan. That's more
Yeah. I
important.
mean, we got a little bit sidetracked, so I want to get back to asking you about what your experience has been like with Satan. What do you think a common misconception about Satan that people have that in your experience is not true? I mean, there's all these stereotypes about what Satan is or who he is. In your experience, what's the one thing you would like people to know about him that you've experienced that they might not know? And, you know, what do you think the misconception is
Well,
or misconceptions are?
there's a lot, but the main one is that he's not all evil. He's not this evil entity that wants to destroy everything. I believe he's beyond good and evil. He's capable of both. Like if he wants to be evil, he can be evil, but he can also be
Yeah.
very good as well. Like he's good to his followers. He's good to to those that he has chosen who are devoted to him.
Yeah.
And also, like what you see in horror movies, where where he can be, where you see him being, scared of crucifixes or, priests, and
Yeah.
that's nonsense. He's not scared of those things. He's way more powerful than all that. Like, if a priest was to shove a cross in his face, he'd laugh
Yeah.
at them.
Yeah. No, I agree with that because I mean that's the biggest thing is that they think that the higher ranking demons are afraid of a little bit of prayer or just of somebody calling out the name of Jesus and they're gonna run and hide or they're gonna disappear. Their presence isn't gonna be around. I mean, lesser spirits maybe, I guess, but when it's someone of a higher rank, they're not gonna be intimidated by somebody going, Jesus Christ. It's like, really?
Mm-mm.
You're talking about
No.
ancient spirits that have been around since the beginning of time, and they're just gonna cower in fear at the name Jesus. Really? Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And so,
Also, the ancient god name thing with the Goetia and all that stuff. Like, I don't believe in using all of that in circles and triangles. If I want to talk to Satan, I talk to Satan, or you know just use respect. Go to him, in a genuine way.
no, I don't. I
You
don't
know,
use. I don't use anything to protect myself from Satan or to protect myself during rituals because the way I look at it is right. Is I dedicated my life to Satan. I made a blood pact with Satan and to give him my soul and serve him in his kingdom, right? That's the way I look at it. So if he wants to take me out, he can take me out anytime he wants to. So if he
yeah,
decides or one of the demons decide, you're done, dude. You're done. It's over. Your time's up.
yeah.
That's their prerogative. And if another spirit comes that's not from his kingdom, I believe that, we get warning and then we do the banishing. That's what we do. You do the rituals to get rid of it. And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll do something like that. You'll try to do something to get rid of the spirit, and it doesn't always go away the first time. It lingers around or it comes back. And people, these people that make it seem like, oh, I just waved a wand around and I'd said a few words
Yeah.
and the spirit's gone. No, it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you might have to do it several times before the spirit goes completely. But I don't
Yeah.
banish demons,
No.
because the way I figure it is I welcome them to my home. I welcome them to be present and to leave whenever they choose, because they're my
Yeah.
gods. And I think that's another thing that people get wrong when dealing with them. If you call a demon, you start commanding them and cursing them and cussing at them, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of attitude do you think they're going to have? I don't get that, especially when Satanists do it. When people who call themselves Satanists do that kind of stuff. It's like no Satanist that I know that believes in Satan would ever do these things. That's why when people say, I'm a Satanist and I do these things, I said, no, you're not. There is no way you're a real Satanist, because if you had any respect for Satan, you wouldn't even think of doing these things, much less actually try to do them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's you respect. I mean, when you even, if you want a friend to come over to your house, you're gonna, treat them nicely. You're gonna invite them in for a drink, and you're gonna give them the best seat in your house, and you're not gonna say, "Okay, get out now," whenever I'm done with you, and And another thing is, it seems like a lot of people just want to talk, to work with demons to get things, to get money, sex,
Yeah.
power. What's like, just learn from them, get to know them like for who they are, not just for what they can give you.
Yeah. And in fact, that brings me to another point. People will ask, well, if you have a book that lists like demons and their different titles, right? And say one book or somebody says, well, this demon has that rank in this book and the demon has this rank in this book or whatever. The rule that I go by and the rule that I was taught to go by was you use the highest rank you can find for the demon and you call them with that title and that name as best you can, and you show respect. And even when you say the name and you're not sure how to pronounce it, say it's something difficult to pronounce, you say
Yeah.
before you say it, I'm doing the best I can. If it's not right, please accept my apologies and accept my conjuration in the spirit. It's offered, that kind of thing. And that's the way
Yeah.
we always did it. So if we come across information that contradicts each other, and like say you find something that says one's one rank and then another rank, you always use the higher rank. That's the way I was taught. Always.
Yeah.
And some spirits don't care about titles and they don't care about etiquette and all that stuff. But then you have other ones that are sensitive about that stuff. And the only way you're going to figure out which ones are which is by working with them. And the other thing that I would say too is that demons aren't the same with everybody. They,
No.
I've seen people where with certain people, they're real casual. They're like, you can call upon them and they don't mind helping that person. But then there's other people where it's like, if they even make one mistake, they don't like it. And sometimes, and I still haven't been able to figure out why this is, but I think sometimes the spirits hold grudges against people because of things they've done in their past, maybe in past lives or maybe in their family. Because one of the things that I believe personally, from my own experience, is that when you drop blood on a sigil, I think they can read your family lineage. They know they can read your past just from your blood. And they know
Yeah.
what your family's done. They know what you've done. They know what your past lives are, if you've had any. They know all that. So I think sometimes when they treat individuals differently, it's because they have a different past history. and they hold them to a different standard, maybe because they've done things in the past and they hold them to a higher standard because they've disrespected the demons in the past, or maybe because they know, they've served them longer, or whatever the case may be. But I have literally seen where demons will react differently to different people, and they'll react badly if a person doesn't follow everything just the way they say with one person, and then another person can do whatever they want and they seem to be fine with it.
And it also could be that they might have an expectation of a particular person. Like if they want, say, someone to do a particular thing, they might, treat them a certain way to lead them in that direction.
Oh yeah, that's true too. I didn't mean to say that's the only reason. Yeah, you're right. If they think you're capable of more,
Yeah.
but you're being lazy, you know what?
Yeah.
Or you're just taking the easy way out, they can sometimes mess with you and be stricter on you, and they can cause things to happen to you to get you to go on the straight path. That's the other thing. When people listen to me and you talk about this, because we say, oh, Satan's not all dark and he's not out to destroy the universe, they think that we're trying to imply that Satan's like some Jesus figure, that he has no dark side, that he doesn't reprimand his children. But that is not true.
No.
That's not true. I saw one person that he made a promise to Satan and he broke it, and his whole life was destroyed. And he's still not right.
Yeah.
He broke a promise that he made that he shouldn't have made in the first place, because it was a stupid promise to make, because there was no way he was going to do it. He was like, I'm going to devote my life to you, Satan, and I'm not going to have any sex with any women. I'm not going to have any relationships. I'm not going to do anything but serve you. And I remember members of the group that I was associated with and friends that I had said, dude, that's not really a good idea. You probably need to rethink. Even before he did it, we told him that's probably not a real good idea, because you're just doing it. I don't know if he's doing it to show off or doing it because he thought he could do it. We just knew it wasn't going to work, right? Just because of the person that he was.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, you really need to rethink that pact. And almost as soon as he made it, he met some girl and he broke everything within like maybe 2 weeks. And his whole life just spun out of control. It's never been the same since.
Well, that shows that, like Satan does hear what we say, and when we do, when we ask him for something or promise him something, we have to be very careful of what we're saying. Like he does hold us to our pacts. He does hold us to our dedications, and he will reprimand us if we break them, like, especially if he has invested in us, he will manifest. He will cause things to manifest in our homes, or, things that are not so nice that remind us, okay, well, I better get back on the path again. I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah. No, I think, I don't know, how informative this is to people, because to me, this is just the conversation that we're having is just a normal conversation between two Satanists. So to me, this is nothing new or unique information, but apparently there's not that many people that talk like this. Based on what I hear, when I get responses from people, they'll say, the things you talk about in your books or the things that you talk about on your podcast, we don't hear people saying that much about these things. And I guess for me, it's always been kind of a normal conversation. So to me, there's nothing unique about what we're talking about. But I hope it helps other people, and I hope it makes them think about the pacts that they make. And I guess as long as we're talking about making promises to Satan, I would, myself personally, I would recommend people make a blood oath the traditional way. That's the way I did it. And I renew my pact, regularly. And I have renewed my pact many times.
Yeah.
And I think people should do that. And so, I believe in the old ways of doing things. I don't believe in this modern, new agey, everything goes, whatever we want to believe in is whatever, Satanism is whatever we say it is.
No, I know.
Stuff. I don't believe in any of that stuff.
Yeah, it seems Satanism seems to be becoming something that it originally wasn't meant to be. It's not like Satanism anymore. And pacts don't mean anything. Dedications don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like we could talk to anybody, or we can, do anything. And loyalty and dedication is not, people don't see that as so important the way it should be.
So,
like, where's the passion for Satan? We don't lose that. If if you have it, if you had it in the beginning, don't lose it. And if you feel like you have, go back and do something, like do a ritual, start up a devotion. That's why I did, wrote a lot of the things I did, the rituals, the devotionals and stuff, so people can have that to get back to, the beginning, to when they felt the excitement.
So let's go into that a little bit. If you were going to have if somebody came to you and said, "I want to get started as a Satanist," what would you recommend they do first? What ritual, what prayers would you recommend? Can you recommend something out of your book that you would say to start with? Because I know you have a lot of devotional stuff in there. So if somebody came to you for the first time and said, "I want to make a pact with Satan," what would you suggest to them?
Well, first I'd say get to know him. Get to know him as much as you can. Spend a lot of time alone with him in prayer and meditation. Read as much as you can, but make sure you don't believe everything to be true. Like, test everything, compare things. Practice your Satanism every day and live what you believe. Like, every morning I make sure to go before my altar and I anoint myself and I pray to Satan. And I do the same thing when I go to bed. And sometimes during the day, if I feel like I need to do, if I want to do that.
So you would say just call out to him and wait and see if you get a response and try to get to know him and get used to his presence? Or would you recommend that they do rituals and call out to him first?
Call out to him and wait for a response. He might not respond to you right away. Be open to different ways that he might respond to you. Like, he might send you a dream. He might speak to you in a word, like an impression. You might all of a sudden be listening to a song and a sentence sticks out to you that he's doing that. Like, just be open to it and don't try not to miss things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with me, a lot of it's been dreams. I've had a lot of dreams, and then stuff would happen after I dreamt about them and stuff. Or I dreamt about, conversations and stuff with spirits, and stuff would come to pass. So dreams have always been a very powerful way for me. In fact, it's been the primary way that I get communications. And in fact, I mean, when I do get communications other ways besides dreams, it's usually because they want me to get a message. It's important that they get my attention. Something serious is going on, whether it's somebody I know is in trouble. And that's another thing. One of the things, I don't know if people realize this that don't work with demons, but if you're in a group with people that are truly dedicated to Satan, if one of your group members gets in trouble, you will feel presences and you will get omens and dreams and things to let you know that person's in trouble or they need your help. I mean, I've seen that with myself and some other people. We just have this psychic link.
Yeah.
And when something's wrong with those people, I will get messages. I will get things, and I will even have spiritual stuff happen or communications happen. And so I don't think people realize that when you're connected through Satan with someone, the demons will let you know, hey, your brother, your sister in Satan is in trouble.
Yeah.
And you don't even necessarily have to talk to them. You just feel it. You know something's wrong. And you know you need to contact them.
Yeah.
And in fact, I remember telling you when we talked last time, privately, I was saying to you that a friend I used to have prayed to Satan for me to call him. And I just got this feeling that I needed to call him. And I called him and he said, I've been praying to Satan that you would call me,
Mm-hmm.
And so stuff like that happens. It happens a lot. You have to understand that the way all this spiritual stuff works, and I know you could back me up with this, Marie, is if you're open to it, that connection to the spiritual gets stronger.
Yes.
If you ignore it and you act like it doesn't exist, then it pretty much doesn't exist for you. It's like all these atheists who go, I know, spiritual stuff doesn't exist. The spirit world is just a bunch of BS, right?
Yeah.
It's because they already think they know the answers. They're not willing to open up and let the spiritual forces that are out there commune with them. So if you have that mindset, the spiritual powers that are out there or the entities that are out there are not going to waste their time trying to convince you. Because a lot of people think, well, surely if Satan or the demons exist, they would inform me. They would let me know because I'm special. And of course, if they really existed, they would call me. That's what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the case. They call who they want to call. And
Yeah, exactly.
it's not always the biggest. It's not always the strongest. It's not always the guy that's the richest,
Yeah.
or the girl that's the hottest. Or
Yeah.
it's they call people for the reasons that they called them. And I can't tell you why that is. I can't tell you what the reasons are because I'm not Satan. I can't speak for him,
Yeah.
and I'm not the demons, and I don't know why they make the choices they make. I'm just telling you that what I know is that when you're open to the spiritual world, the spirit world communicates back to you.
Oh, for sure.
That's what I know. So you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, they also know, like the demons also know if we're open.
Yeah.
So, if someone's closed, if someone's an atheist and say, I definitely don't believe, they might not, unless they have a good reason to try to contact them, they'll probably just leave them alone.
Yeah. So that's true. And if you're arrogant about it, they don't have any reason to prove to you that they exist. They don't need you. I mean, you're just one human in a billion,
Yeah.
or 7 billion or whatever the number of the population of Earth is, isn't it? 7 billion or 8 billion people now.
Yeah.
So you're 1 in 8 billion people. So do you really think Satan needs you that badly that, I've just got to reach out to, I don't know, Peter Gilmore and prove to him that I exist?
So if he does reach out to you, then you should feel honored that
Yeah.
he has, and do what you can to learn about him and the right information and to spend time with him.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true. So if you had any advice for you Satanists, we're getting close to the end of our time here in a little bit. And I know you wanted to read a prayer from your book before we closed, and I want you to read the prayer. So if you had any last bit of advice for people that are new to Satanism or that have been around for a while about how to connect more with Satan and, just how to make Satanism more a part of their life, what would you recommend they do?
Don't let your life revolve around social media. Don't get, it's great to talk to other Satanists. It's great to get to know, to not feel alone and to feel a part of something. But, there's so many things out there. It's going, it can lead to confusion, lead to doubt. The main thing is spend time with Satan alone every day. Choose a time like morning, night, anytime, make time, pray, meditate, learn a way of divination, learn how to read tarot cards, ask him to speak to you through those things. Get to know him from himself, like ask him who he is. And then, practice every day, live what you believe, don't just say something and then not live it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Be loyal, be dedicated, live up to the pacts that you made. And if you do, like if something happens where you do fall away, do your best, to make up for it. Tell Satan you're sorry. And then ask him what he wants you to do. And then do it.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that because even as dedicated as I consider myself to be, there are so many times that I know I didn't do everything Satan expected me to do. And I know
No.
there are many times that I've done stuff, and I've been ashamed of myself because I knew that Satan was disappointed in me because I didn't do everything that I could have done or should have done. So it doesn't matter how dedicated you are. Everybody makes mistakes and
Yeah.
everybody's going to fail, but that doesn't mean you're not a Satanist if you make a mistake or you fail. You know,
Yeah.
you just have to pick up where you left off, start again, and try to do your best to make up for your past mistakes. And this is especially important for people to learn who say, I was part of a Christian, family, and I don't know if Satan will really accept me. If you leave that Christianity behind and you really embrace Satan and satanic philosophy and you really make that connection with him, then all that stuff, he'll forget about it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like with the whole racism stuff and all that stuff, do you really think a spiritual being that is not physical, that is non-corporeal, do you think he really cares about the color of someone's skin?
Oh, definitely not.
Does it make any sense? And the same thing is true for if you deny all your spiritual past, your baptisms and all that, you reject all that stuff, and you commit yourself to Satan, do you really think he's going to care as long as you're genuine about what your family may have done or whatever?
Yeah.
I think even though I said that sometimes they can read your past, they also can read your heart and they know when you're genuine or not. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's very important because genuineness makes up for mistakes. Being truly dedicated to the cause makes up for the past mistakes.
Yes. And
So
racism does not have any part in Satanism. Satan doesn't care, whether you're black or white or Asian or, he doesn't. He cares about the heart and the soul.
and that's the biggest problem I have with all of these, racial elements in Satanism. It has nothing to do. It makes no sense that a spiritual being that has neither race nor nationality would care about race or nationality. Why
Yeah,
would
it
he
doesn't make
care?
sense.
He doesn't care,
No,
you know?
not at all.
And that's the funny thing, we're talking about what it was like in the 80s because we come from a time when Satanism was still Satanism. I never once met a racist Satanist when I was a teenager. Nobody cared. Nobody
No.
cared what color you were or how much money you had. The only thing anybody cared about was, do you worship Satan or not?
Yeah. Yeah. That was the only thing.
Yeah. Nobody sat there when, well, what race are you? Or how much money do you make? Or what job do you have? You know? Or
Oh, I
where
know.
did you go to school? Do you have a college degree? Do you not have a college? Nobody cared.
No.
Anyway, I think we're about out of time, but I know you want to read the prayer. So go ahead and read your selection, would you please?
Okay. This is called the Prayer of Devotion. Lord Satan, I feel your infernal presence surrounding me. You are the great serpent who gives me knowledge and wisdom, the great dragon who will lead me into the coming battle. I desire to serve you with my entire mind, body, soul, and spirit. I open myself up to you today, tomorrow, and forever. Eternally, I will walk by your side. Lord Satan, you are my master, teacher, God, and Father. I adore you with my innermost being. My mind is filled with thoughts of you. Your essence fills my spirit, and your energy runs through my veins. I long to hear your words, to know your greatest mysteries. When you call to me, I will come. By the water, I will find you. Lord Satan, you are the most powerful of all. I bow before your magnificence. Receive my offering. I invoke you, Ancient One. Rise, rise in power. May the world be witness to your glory. Live through me and manifest your will. I love you. Nima.
Thank you. So before we go, how can people reach you if they want to reach you? What's the best place to reach you?
Either on my website, www.insatansHonor.com, or through my email, ravensoul15@hotmail.com, or through my Facebook.
Okay. And we should point out that In Satan's Honor is spelled with a U, the Canadian spelling. so that people.
Yeah, it's IN and then a line
Mhm.
and then Satan's, a line and then honor. And then it has a U because it's Canadian.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that we point that out because people don't realize that just like the British, the Canadians don't know how to spell. I'm just kidding. All right. Thank you, Marie. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I hope to have you back sometime soon. Thanks.
Oh, for sure.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Illumination Report podcast. For the latest news headlines, show information, and more, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com.